Welcome to Tuesday, May 11th. Today we're going to be going through Proverbs 11. I'm so glad that you've joined us today, whether live or on our YouTube later. I'm really excited to dig into God's word and what he has for us today. So Proverbs 11. The Lord detests the use of dishonest scales, but he delights in accurate weights. Pride leads to disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Honesty guides good people. Dishonesty destroys treacherous people. Riches won't help on the day of judgment, but right living can save you from death. The godly are directed by honesty. The wicked fall beneath their load of sin. The godliness of good people rescues them. The ambition of treacherous people traps them. When the wicked die, their hopes die within them, for they rely on their own feeble strength. The godly are rescued from trouble, and it falls on the wicked instead. With their words, the godless destroy their friends, but knowledge will rescue the righteous. The whole city celebrates when the godly succeed. They shout for joy when the wicked die. Upright citizens are good for a city and make it prosper, but the talk of the wicked tears it apart. It is foolish to belittle one's neighbor. A sensible person keeps quiet. A gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence. Without wise leadership, a nation falls. There is safety in having many advisors. There's danger in putting up security for a stranger's debt. It is safer not to guarantee another person's debt. A gracious woman gains respect, but ruthless men gain only wealth. Your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you. Evil people get rich for the moment, but the reward of the godly will last. Godly people find life. Evil people find death. The Lord detests people with crooked hearts, but he delights in those with integrity. Evil people will surely be punished, but the children of the godly will go free. A beautiful woman who lacks discretion is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. The godly can look forward to a reward, while the wicked can expect only judgment. Give freely and become more wealthy. Be stingy and lose everything. The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. People curse those who hoard their grain, but they bless the one who sells in time of need. If you search for food, you will find favor. But if you search for evil, it will find you. Trust in your money and down you go. But the godly flourish like leaves in spring. Those who bring trouble on their families inherit the wind. The fool will be a servant to the wise. The seeds of good deeds become a tree of life. A wise person wins friends. If the righteous are rewarded here on earth, what will happen to wicked sinners? All right. So in the beginning of chapter 11, in verse 1, he talks about dishonest scales and accurate weights. Basically, what he's talking about in modern terms is cheating another person out of what they deserve. So back in that day, merchants would bring their own scales to things. And, they would be selling goods. And, if they brought out their scales for selling, the scale would be dishonest. So they could give less of their thing and more money. So that was a way for them to shortchange and deceive other people. So what God is saying is that he detests when people cheat other people out of what they deserve and when people are unfair. Verse 2 says, pride leads to disgrace. The interesting thing about pride is that the number one fear of somebody who's being prideful is disgrace. So that when you are prideful, that's your number one fear of being disgraced. But with humility comes wisdom, which we know from the rest of Proverbs is so valuable. In verse 3, it says, honesty guides good people, dishonesty destroys treacherous people. And that's a simple way to put it, but I'm having trouble reading my own handwriting, to be honest, but it's a simple, and it gives only temporary benefits, because when you're dishonest, you can get some benefits, but they're all temporary. And at the end of 4, saving money won't help you when stuff goes down, but righteous living will save you. Verse 5 is a really profound picture, I think, for all of us. It says, the wicked fall beneath their load of sin. I think all of us know and understand how heavy and how awful it is to bear the weight of unconfessed sin. It is a heavy weight, and it can weigh you down and crush you. And I encourage you guys, we know that God, Jesus, has taken away our sin, and that when we confess that to him and to other people, you don't have to carry that weight around. Don't carry that weight of sin around, students. Verse 7 basically says that if you are wicked, if you are evil, then your legacy will never outlive you. When you die, people are going to forget about you very quickly. But if you're righteous, your legacy will live much longer than you could ever do, and you'll continue to impact people even after you die. Verse 9 says, with their words. If you want to destroy your relationships, try living without God for a little bit. Your words are powerful and they matter. Be careful. In your friendships, it's important that you don't just say things out of raw emotion, because words are powerful and words are important. In verse 10, kind of put a question in my mind, and I think it's true. If you passed away tomorrow, what legacy would you have left behind? And would that be a good one? If you passed away tomorrow, because I think that all of us think about legacy as something that happens when we're 80, 90, 100 years old, way down the road. I don't have to start thinking about legacy now, but if you passed away tomorrow, what would your legacy be? Because the legacy that you have now is actually the legacy that you're building for the rest of your life. And if you don't make a change, and if you don't change the trajectory of your life and the legacy that you have now, you're never going to build a legacy later that doesn't closely mirror and closely match the one that you have right now. Verses 12 and 13 basically summed up, gossip isn't good for anyone. It's not worth it. A lot of us can gossip just because we think it gives momentary pleasure or a momentary rapport with our friends. You know, if we say this, then they're going to like me more. But gossip is just never worth it, students. Skipping down to 16, summed up, it says, being gracious is better than being right and ruthless. Grace is more valuable and more important than sometimes being right, but doing it in a ruthless way. You know, that goes back to the Proverbs we talked about 2 days ago, is that sometimes it's better not to be right, better to just hold back, because if we correct somebody, but that relationship is ruined, then what do we gain? Nothing, of course. Being gracious is better than being right and ruthless. Verse 18 again, evil people get rich for the moment, but the reward of the godly will last. Don't trade momentary riches or momentary gratification for something that will last forever. The reward of the godly will last. That's important. That's what we need to cling on to, not the temporary benefits that we can get by being evil. Verse 19 is super simple. Godly people find life, evil people find death. You could put that on a bumper sticker. It might not be the best bumper sticker, but it's simple. That's kind of sums everything up. Verse 20, the Lord detests. And I've already used the word detest already in verse 1, but basically that's like a strong hate. The Lord detests people with crooked hearts, but he delights. That's a strong love. And that's a contrast that we see in those with integrity. Once again, I've said this before, but I've always remembered the definition of integrity as doing the right thing when nobody is looking. Other definitions that I looked up said whole, undivided, moral consistency. That's what God delights in. Verse 22 is funny because, again, you guys probably know by this point, I was a pig farmer for a little bit. A beautiful woman who lacks discretion is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. You might say something like, she's pretty, but what a waste. And for ladies and for men, what real men and women of God look for more than anything else is wisdom. You know, you can be attractive, you can be plenty attractive, But if you don't have any wisdom, it's not going to work out for you. So seek after wisdom, and the beauty and the good relationships that you're looking for will follow after that. Verse 24 through 26 talks about generosity. And that can be with your finances, but also with your time, with your effort, and with your love. Recently, one of the students that you know, I won't say their name, contacted me about setting up her offering. She got her first job, and the first thing that she did was setting up her auto tithe. And I was so touched by that because I know that I wouldn't have the maturity to do that at your guys' age, but it's not impossible. That generosity is important. And God blesses that, and God honors that generosity when we give that with our life. In verse 27, basically, wisdom can be easy to find, but I'd say evil is even easier to find. It even says in the verse, evil will help you out in finding it. You don't even have to look far to find evil. Evil will come and seek out you if you haven't guarded your life and set yourself on a good path. And lastly, in verse 28, it says, trust in your money and down you go, but the godly flourish like leaves in the spring. You know, all of us living in Kansas has been awesome because you guys know, look outside in the spring, stuff starts to grow. And rather than just being this bare dirt, green is everywhere and things are growing up and it's beautiful and we get these amazing landscapes. And that's what you don't get if you trust in your money. But if you trust in God, that's what you get, the beautiful growth of spring. So I want to encourage you, the next time you look out your window and you see flowers and birds and everything coming back, that's what being godly does in your life. It brings on new growth like spring. Thank you for joining us today for Proverbs 11. Really excited. I'll see you guys tomorrow and the day after that.